All right. Thank you very much for the invitation, for the introduction, and of course also for the invitation in this boot camp. And uh, and again, it is an honor for me to be here to be sharing our work with you all today. And I hope that in the earlier sessions have been very helpful for all of you to make you more appreciate more the power of data, um, the power of organized data in managing your nonprofit initiatives. So let me share with you first the work of PhilDev. Okay, so there. All right. Oh, sorry. There you go. Okay, there. So when we talk about the concept of PhilDev, as when you divide the 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 term into two words, it's Philippine development. And when you talk about Philippine development, it might be a vast concept, but in the work that we do, given the mission and vision of the organization, it is technically centered on on economic development. So let me just share with you know how did this perspective came about. Okay, so Philippine Development Foundation is an innovation-driven nonprofit org that accelerates national development through science and technology-based initiatives and partnerships. Meaning, when we're talking about the work that we do, it's really about contributing to the innovation ecosystem. Because when we're in the perspective of economic development, it is very essential that the different stakeholders that's involved in sustainability projects, or let's say enterprise development projects, will be convened together to develop new technologies, to develop new approaches, so that we can spread prosperity in more communities in the Philippines. So it is really stemming from the fact that there's a lot of poverty in the Philippines. I mean, specifically 17.6%, we can say, below the poverty level. But basically, we want to connect the works, particularly of the academe, to this. So the vision, this nonprofit was started by Justdado Banatao. He is currently a venture capitalist, a technology innovator. Okay, so he's actually based right now in Silicon Valley. So any computer that we actually have, a part of our processors, okay, is actually invented by Dado Banatao. So Dado Banatao actually came from he was born and raised in Tuguegarao City, okay, in Cagayan, and he is actually born in a very simple household, and he's actually a public school graduate, and eventually got into a lot of scholarships to Mapua and eventually Stanford University. So his brilliance enabled him to rise, from being a student who's normally helping out in the farm, to becoming a world-class innovator and company builder in Silicon Valley. So his vision in establishing this is to develop globally competitive technology products from the Philippines, driven by innovative entrepreneurs focused on inclusive economic growth and job creation. So it's really alleviating poverty through technology. And the mission, of course, is helping eradicate poverty in the Philippines with the work that we do. So how are we able to do this? So there are three pillars, okay? Because we believe in PhilDev that we can never do it alone. I mean, if we talk about alleviation of poverty, I mean, I am formerly from the SWD. So the work that we have done before really is centered on that. But the SWD, honestly, cannot do it alone. So we need the support of the academe, the private industry, to harness science and technology and the brilliant minds of our students and innovators around the country to enable sustainable and inclusive economic growth in the Philippines. So there are three entry points in our work. So the first one is we are, of course, running education programs. So we strengthen the foundation of students, specifically by providing them scholarships and learning opportunities to have a perspective of becoming a technology entrepreneur or becoming a technopreneur. Then innovation, we believe innovation pushes knowledge and industries forward. So we hope that through the collaboration of the different stakeholders with DTI, also with our engineering engineering schools around the country, we're able to boost the technology transfer of what's being made in the campus for them to be either commercialized or becoming adapted by the companies here in the Philippines. And then entrepreneurship, of course. So other than innovation, naturally, it flows to entrepreneurship. So we want to create a culture of creativity, turning ideas into viable, scalable, and sustainable enterprises that creates jobs and share wealth in the community. So when you look at this entire framework, it is actually a value chain wherein we wanted for the students to have that mindset that he or she can build technologies for inclusive development, create to be contributors to national development through the technology that they'll be developing, and eventually creating a space for innovators, for enterprises to thrive in a rather complex world, so to speak. Given that currently there's hardly regulation, there are hardly policies when it comes to innovative startups. As of the moment, there is an innovative startup law, but we are still in the process of making sure that it happens. The policies that are made for startups. So what is our approach in doing this? So let me share through this set of slides the importance of data, at the same time what we do. Okay, so let me start with this. So we actually build the capacity of both technology and social enterprises. So let me just add it's not just social enterprise but also technology enterprise. So we call actually our program PhilDev Social Impact Accelerator. So to give you a gist of what incubators and accelerators do is we provide different levels or different types of support for early to late stage startups around the country so that they're able to get investments. Okay, so but before we practically invest in them, both financially and programmatically, we actually gather data through first due diligence. So due diligence is not just a set of data or a set of documents that social enterprises, or even nonprofits submit to its funders. We don't just treat the documents as is. We also validate, okay, given first the entity's engagements, if they have conflict of interest, if they already appeared in media, they've already had negative, they have a negative reputation with respect to the different organizations. How have they been managing partnerships when it comes to their engagements? So it's very important that other than the documents, the data that they're submitting, let's make sure to validate it through key informant interviews, actually through also community visits. And then the next one is the non-financial factors analysis, or the environmental, social, and governance, to identify risks and growth opportunities of the enterprise. Because in the end of the day, social enterprises or even enterprises have externalities, meaning how are they affecting the environment? Are there factories built are they complying to safety standards? Do they have a good relationship with their local government, or are they violating any rules when it comes to human rights or decent employment? So we have to actually look at those and in fact right now in this pandemic, this is all the more important as part of your set of data. It's what we call the ESG guidelines, wherein before any fund will be going to any organization, you should be able to comply with the set of questions, specifically the ESG guidelines. Then next is partnership risks and benefits. So given the fact that there is funding, it is very essential for us to gather data that's related to how will they invest, how will they manage the program that they committed to do. So let's say you have let's say a grant, an innovation grant. So an innovation grant that will fund their specific programs or innovations. So you have to ensure that they will be submitting their budget, their timeline, the people who will be running the certain processes, the partnerships that they will be engaging in the duration of the project there. So that's how intensive our due diligence is to ensure that we are working with organizations that have good track record. Then next is organizational capacity assessment. So we have, of course, regulatory compliance. Are they compliant with their annual taxes? Okay, income taxes. Are they submitting tax returns? Are they also registered as a company? Because a lot of companies actually right now, no, some of them rather are running even without the SEC. Okay, so registration. So it's very important for us to look at that. And then governance and leadership. Are the leaders reliable? Do they have a good track record? Okay, let's ensure that we background check them as well. Then operations, program, and financial management. So do they have a good financial system prior to actually getting the funding? So it's really very important for us to assess this, because in the end of the day, if we are to fund them, and if we have to monitor them for a couple of months, we don't want them to just utilize the fund when for non-project related activities. There. So actually, when we are working with funders, okay, rather our fundies or enterprises in incubation, well, we have to, other than the due diligence, we have to make sure that number one, identified social issues and problems, or if I can actually edit this, identified value. I mean, as an enterprise, do they have a clear value proposition? What are they trying to do as a social enterprise? What products or services are they offering? Then potential for scale and differentiation. We want to see that we have a good baseline data that will enable us to see if they have a potential to actually expand or to grow as an enterprise, because it is their accountability to us to share their progress in the duration of the program. Then validated business model with traction and revenue, and then we cater to both early, late, and late stage enterprises. And the funders, of course, the staff of the fundies or our partners should be committed to report and to work with us, and their insights, they're working with us in improving their organization, and the ability to execute. So ability to execute is also aligned with their ability to submit reports on time. There. So of course, just to give a rundown of all the services we're doing. So even though we are strict when it comes to our due diligence and to our criteria, okay, we are actually assuring them that we are engaging the best of the best keynote speakers, trainers, services, so that they're able to reach their goal. So if they're a beginning social enterprise or enterprise, we work with them in, let's say, building their company structure, strategic planning, and accessing early stage capital. Then for the intermediate social enterprises, we are working with them on how they can create impact measurement or monitor their impact, and also risk management. Then for the advanced ones, we deal with intellectual property rights, with valuation of their finances. So we tailor fit. So the data that you are actually gathering, it's not just useful for actually just knowing, knowing who is eligible or not. It's also your needs analysis for you to know, okay, for those who passed through the screening, we will know what intervention will we do as a nonprofit for these partners, be it in the level of community or the level of institution. And then, of course, we do mentoring sessions, we do investment readiness assessment, so that we can see how are they developing. So we really do a lot of mentoring, or one-on-ones with them. There. And well, briefly, under the enterprise program, we also do innovation challenges. So we also engage of course, not to boost the number of enterprises that we are supporting, we're opening competitions around the country so that we can attract new possible investees in developing their startup. So just last month or a week ago, actually, no, we just ended our collaborative innovation challenge with Cebuana Luwilier Foundation. So we did an innovation challenge to produce to generate startups that will address the problem of financial literacy in the country. So the winners of this competition, we will be evaluating them further so that they can be eligible to enter our incubation program. So there. And also, in addition to what I've mentioned earlier, other than the entrepreneurs, we're also working with universities around the country to what we call technopreneurship hubs. So we also fund and we also train different campuses in technopreneurship teaching, in running their technology business incubator and ecosystem development. Meaning, how are they able to do what we're doing in terms of bringing incubation, bringing quality incubation in budding enterprises within their area. And as of the moment, we're working with these universities. So before, we used to go in each one of them to be able to provide training, but now we're doing it all virtually. Okay. Then we also do incubation, we also do innovation challenges and workshops. So here are our milestones. Okay, so this is very important for us to know where we are right now as far as PhilDev is concerned. How many we have engaged. So let me just show briefly, and then here's the other set of data. Okay, so indeed, data is very important for us because it actually makes us aware of who are actually eligible in the program. At the same time, we want to see how much impact have we been making as a nonprofit and as a funder to these institutions. So there, and here's an example. Here's actually the startups that we've supported so far. Bambuhay, they're actually a social enterprise that's developing bamboo-based products in collaboration with communities in Central Luzon. Okay, so if you know the ones that was featured recently, the bamboo face shields, they were the one who developed that. And then the other one is Coffee for Peace. So they are actually initially a nonprofit that's developing peace trainings in different communities around the country. But right now, they are working with them so that they can provide livelihood for these communities. So to provide livelihood for them by developing coffee, by harvesting coffee and eventually helping them in marketing. So that's Coffee for Peace. So not just learning peace, but also enabling peace through livelihood. And then here's another list of all the enterprises we're supporting. So most of them are very more in the social enterprise side. So an example here is Mad Travel. So what they do is they help different communities around the country. So they use the social tourism model so that they are not just providing income to the communities where the tourists are coming in, but also the tourists themselves are learning how to help the community in the process of, they're not just tourists there, but they're also volunteers. So they also help out in building the houses of communities in Ifugao. They also help out in coastal cleanups in certain coastal communities in Zambales. So there. So we work with quite a lot of organizations ourselves. And that's it. Thank you very much. And that's PhilDev.